Hello everyone, welcome back to the Anatomy Lab. Today we are going to be taking a look at the shoulder region, including some arm muscles, but mostly the rotator cuff muscles. So to get started, you can see two different versions of the shoulder. Like, just to be clear, this is with the deltoid on, this is with the deltoid off. But we do have the deltoid over here that you can see as well, but it is mostly covering a lot of the muscles. But to get started, let's actually look at this one first so we can see things a little bit more specifically. So first of all, this is the shoulder region or the pectoral girdle. So it is going to include the clavicle, the scapula, and then also inside of here, the humerus. So clavicle, scapula, and humerus, this is your shoulder joint and your shoulder girdle that is going to be helping to support it. Now, taking a look at this, the first muscle that you can see here very clearly is this very big, triangular or delta-shaped muscle. This is named for the delta symbol, being the deltoid. Now, if you look at the deltoid, it's kind of like forming this small hook, or U or V rather, I guess, connecting to the lateral side of the clavicle, as well as the spine of the scapula. So it's going to be connecting over to the sides, and then it's going to all go down and insert down here at a very specific landmark, which is named for it, the deltoid tuberosity. So the deltoid tuberosity is going to be down here, which is where the deltoid is going to connect to. So very luckily, those names kind of coincide. But furthermore, what we can see now is that there's a lot of different muscles on the scapula. So the scapula, remember, has all of these different fossae that are going to be on it, such as above the scapula, supraspinous fossa, infraspinous fossa, and then subscapular fossa on the front. That is going to help with indicating the muscles that we have here as well, which is luckily named similar to those fossae. So supraspinous fossa above the spine, this is going to be supraspinatus. Below the spine, this is infraspinous fossa with infraspinatus. And then underside of the scapula, in the subscapular fossa, this is the subscapularis. So those three muscles you might be able to see all converge over here at different regions of the greater tubercle. So all three of those are kind of like encapsulating the humerus or the head of the humerus, and it's going to insert onto the greater tubercle to help with supporting your shoulder joint. So those are three of your four rotator cuff muscles. There is actually one more right here. So you had subscapularis, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and then this one right here. It's very closely associated to infraspinatus, but it's technically right below it. This is going to be called the teres minor. So teres minor is also part of the rotator cuff. And we do have an acronym that you can use for that, which is SITS. So SITS, that's subscapularis for S, infraspinatus for I, teres minor for T, and then another S, supraspinatus. Now, those are the rotator cuff muscles, but there are a couple more that you can see here as well. Another one which starts on the back over here. So if you look closely, it's right below teres minor, and this one is actually called teres major. But I want you to look at something very carefully, is that the teres minor starts on the back of the scapula and goes to the back of the humerus. So this is going to help with laterally rotating the arm or shoulder. But if you look down here, this teres major muscle actually goes under the armpit region to connect to the front of the humerus. So although they're very close together, that's a big distinction to look for. Teres major will go to the front of the humerus to help with medially rotating the arm, but then also it could pull the arm inward to adduct it as well. But while we're at it, there's a few more muscles to look for here as well, starting off with this landmark right here. On the anterior side of the scapula, this is called the coracoid process, and that's where you have a couple of muscles connecting here. So technically there's actually another one, but let's go ahead and take a look at these as well. This is called the coracobrachialis. Now think about that name. That hopefully does sound familiar because coracoid process, brachialis, brachial, arm. So going from coracoid process to arm, this is coracobrachialis. And then over here, there's a muscle with two heads. So the muscle with two heads includes the short and the long head of the biceps brachii. So two heads, bi like bicycle, and then ceps, heads, but brachii, once again, what does that mean? Arm. So connecting to the humerus or along the humerus, this is biceps brachii. But this is the short head of the biceps brachii that goes to the coracoid process. But notice you have this other head, the long head, and the long head goes up and around the shoulder, and it's longer than the short head. It's going to go all the way up here to the supraglenoid tubercle. So the long head goes up along the supraglenoid tubercle, and this will help with moving the shoulder at least a little bit. Now moving to the posterior side, you can see a couple of muscles here as well, which include your three-headed muscles, or your three-headed muscle, the triceps brachii. So triceps, kind of like tricycle in this case, and in this case you also have different named heads, which include the lateral head, the long head, and I know this is a little bit confusing, but lower down it is more medial head. So lateral head, long head, and medial head. And if you look closely, there's actually a space right here. This is called the quadrangular space. It is going to be formed by teres minor, teres major, long head of triceps brachii, and then also the humerus. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at it on the rest of the arm as well, because it does look a little different. But once again, deltoid, and you can see that it's right along the edges of the clavicle as well as the scapula. And then above it, this is going to be where you find the supraspinatus. So here is with the deltoid removed, and we can see those muscles again. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. So to start off with, once again, supraspinatus, going to the top of the greater tubercle, infraspinatus, going to the back, along with teres minor, right under it. On the anterior side, you have subscapularis, but then, do you know what this muscle is right down here? Like, notice what I'm pinching? So this muscle is the same thing as this muscle. So this was teres minor, this is teres major. That's going to the front of the humerus. And then, although kind of hard to tell, you would also have the latissimus dorsi here, like very close to it as well. But then, similarly, let's look at those arm muscles, coracobrachialis, short head of biceps brachii, long head of biceps brachii, and then over here, lateral head of triceps brachii, long head of triceps brachii going all the way up there. And then also down here, you can see some of the medial head of triceps brachii. So with that said, I think that's about it for now. But just keep in mind, like, some of these muscles insert onto different places that help with their functions as well. But with that said, good luck with your studying. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all next time.